Okay, let me just put this up. And let's see. There we go. And sorry, I'll be with you in just a second. Just setting up. Ran a little bit late today. My printer at home is not working properly, and so I was. Just bringing a couple of things up. Okay. Okay, good. I think I have everything I'll need. Okay. So I'd like to begin by reciting the name of the Buddha or the Nembutsu. Please join me in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo. So good evening, everyone, and once again, thank you for joining us on this examination of the Shoshinge, or the true the hymns on the Nembutsu, Shinjin and Nembutsu, written by the founder of Dodo Shinshu, Shinran Shonin. And last week, actually, I'm just going to share the screen so you can see. Last week, we were in this section here talking about the 12 different lights. I think you probably remember me discussing about that. And one of the things I mentioned was that these 12 lights came out from the Tanwan or Donnan's praise of Amida Buddha. However, that was a little incorrect. I wanted to make that correction there. It does actually come from the larger sutra, and then Donnan or Tanwan takes that and expands or makes a commentary on what's in the larger sutra. So, if you recall, in Pure Land Buddhism, there are three main teachings that we follow that are pertaining to Amida Buddha. And the most important one is what we call the larger sutra on Amida, or the larger Skavati Vyuha Sutra, sometimes referred to as. And what I wanted to do was start off by looking at where the 12 lights come in. It's actually very important. So in this larger sutra, as you know, as I've mentioned before, the larger sutra tells the story of how Amida Buddha came about, right? And so he was at one time this king of a kingdom, and he encounters Lokeshvara Raja Buddha, the 53rd of the Buddhas, and he then renounces his kingdom and to become a disciple of Lokeshvara Raja. And he takes on the name of the Bodhisattva Dharmakara, which is the storehouse of Dharma. And at the very beginning, once he is shown all the various Buddha lands by Lokeshvara Raja, he decides to he'll take the best parts and he creates what we call the 48 vows. So he makes these vows. And then at the conclusion of making those vows, he sings a verse, verses reaffirming the vows, or the Jusege that we chant regularly on Sunday services. And at the completion of that, according to Shakyamuni Buddha, it says that once this Bodhisattva Dharmakara makes or sings this verse, then the earth shook. The entire earth shook with 6 kinds of tremors, and the heavens rained down wondrous flowers upon it. And there was spontaneous music in the sky that praised this Bodhisattva, saying, "You will unfailingly attain supreme or perfect enlightenment." Okay, so then after this happens, it said that this Bodhisattva Dharmakara sets out for many kalpas to fulfill those 48 vows that he has made in order to become Amida Buddha and to create his Buddha land. And Ananda asked then in the larger sutra, Ananda, who is the primary audience for this sutra, he asked Shakyamuni if this Dharmakara has completed his vow, and if so, how long ago did he fulfill them? And to this, Shakyamuni Buddha replies that the vows were fulfilled 10 kalpas ago, and that Bodhisattva Dharmakara now resides in Amida Buddha in the Western land, 10 kodis away. Now, 1 kodi, I've got here 100 million miles, but there's question mark because I don't think they used miles back then. But anyways, a very, very large distance. Okay, so 100 million of these very large distances away, he's in the West. And his land being named Sakavati Vyuha, or peace and happiness, or as we translate it, we call it the Pure Land of Amida Buddha. Then, following a brief description of the Pure Land, Shakyamuni Buddha then begins to describe to Ananda 2 of the main qualities of the Buddha, and that is Amida Buddha's light and life. And so this following is all a passage directly from this the larger sutra. And so I sent it out just before today's session to all of you, so you should have a copy in your email now. And first, the Shakyamuni Buddha talks to Ananda about Amida's light. And he said, the Buddha said to Ananda, the majestic light of the Buddha, Amitayus, is the most exalted. No other Buddha's light can match his. The light of some Buddhas illuminates 100 Buddha lands, and that of others 1,000 Buddha lands. Briefly, that of Amitayus illuminates the eastern Buddha land, as numerous as the sands of the river Ganges. In the same way, it illuminates the Buddha lands in the south, west, and north, in each of the 4 intermediate quarters above and below. So what this is saying is, it's telling us about 10 directions, right? So you have the east, south, west, and north, and you also have northeast, southeast, southwest, northwest. That makes up 8 directions. And then you have zenith, which is up above, and nadir below. So it illuminates in all 10 directions. All 10 directions. It completely illuminates it. And then it says, further, the light of some Buddhas extends 7 feet. So that's not that long. Some Buddhas have very short lights, right? It only illuminates 7 feet. That of others, one yoyana, or one yoyana, or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 yoyanas. And the distant covered increases in this way until the light of some Buddhas illuminates 1 Buddha land. So I looked up what yoyana is, and yoyana is a measurement of space. And in what I found, it said that it's the distance that a royal platoon can march in 1 day. So that's 1 yoyana. I don't know how you measure that, but the distance that they could march in 1 day is 1 yoyana. So he says incrementally their Buddha's light increases until maybe they illuminate 1 Buddha land. And then he says, for this reason, Amitayus is called by the following names. And this is where he brings out those 12 lights that I mentioned last week. Okay, so it comes out here in this larger sutra on Amida. And then following listing those lights, he says, if sentient beings encounter his light, their 3 defilements are removed. And so remember last week I said that the 3 defilements being the gas, right? Greed, anger, and stupidity or ignorance, right? So those are removed. And how are they removed? They feel tenderness, joy, and pleasure, and good thoughts arise, right? So that when we encounter the light of the Buddha, these things happen. If sentient beings in the 3 realms of suffering see his light, they will be relieved and freed from affliction. So the 3 realms of suffering are considered the bottom realms, what we call hell, hungry ghosts, and beasts. Okay, there's 6 realms of suffering altogether: the hell, hungry ghosts, beasts, fighting spirits or ashura, and human realm, and the pseudo heavenly realm. So those are the 6 realms, and the 3 bottom ones are called the 3 realms of suffering, most suffering, if you will. And at the end of their lives, they all reach emancipation. And then he continues on and says, the light of Amitayus shines brilliantly, illuminating all the Buddha lands of the 10 quarters. There is no place where it is not perceived. I am not the only one who now praises his light. All the Buddhas, Shravakas, Pratyeka Buddhas, and Bodhisattvas praise and glorify it in the same way. So here, what they call the Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas. Shravakas are individuals who follow a teacher to attain enlightenment, whereas Pratyeka Buddhas are individuals who go off into the forest by themselves. So they're sort of like hermits, if you will. So they're much more solitary, the Pratyeka Buddhas. And of course, Bodhisattvas, they all glorify the name. If sentient beings, having heard the majestic virtue of his light, glorify it continually day and night with sincerity of heart, they will be able to attain birth in his land as they wish. Then the multitudes of bodhisattvas and shravakas will praise their excellent virtue. Later, when they attain Buddhahood, all the Buddhas and bodhisattvas in the 10 quarters will praise their light just as they now praise the light of Amitayus. So this is all Shakyamuni Buddha talking to Ananda about Amida Buddha, praising Amida Buddha. The Buddha continues, the majestic glory of the light of Amitayus could not be exhaustively described, even if I praise it continuously day and night for the period of 1 kalpa. So this light is, so one of the names was the Buddha, where is that? inconceivable light, the Buddha of light, the king of the Buddha of light, pure light, the Buddha of light. And one of these is talking about not being able to describe it by words. The Buddha of ineffable light, I think that was it, right? You can't even describe it by words. And that's what Shakyamuni is saying. Even if I had one kalpa to praise the light of Amitayus, Amida Buddha, it would not be enough. Then he goes on to talk about the lifespan. So we had the light, and now he's talking about the light. And he says, the Buddha said to Ananda, the life of Amitayus is so long that it is impossible for anyone to calculate it. To give an illustration, let us suppose that all the innumerable sentient beings in the worlds of the 10 quarters were reborn in human form, and that everyone became a Sravaka or Pratyeka Buddha. Even if they assembled in one place, concentrated their thoughts, and exercised the power of their wisdom to the utmost to reckon the length of the Buddha's life, even after 1,000 million kalpas, they could still not reach its limits. So basically he's saying, the life is immeasurable life, right? And he says those that enter the Pure Land also become the same. Okay? So I wanted to bring this up just because last week I said that the 12 lights were from Donnan's praising of Amida, but Donnan actually takes it from this larger sutra, and he uses he expands on each of these lights, because here in the larger sutra they're just listed basically. So Donnan explained, as I did last week, explained that each, why this light is called this, and that's what he did in his praise of Amida. So Shinran Shonin, in his Hymns of True Teachings, so this part here where he talks about the different types of light, he then is referencing the larger sutra, okay, coming out from the larger sutra. Then Shinran continues on, and he says, the name embodying the primal vow is the act of true settlement. The vow of entrusting with sincere mind is the cause of birth. We realize the equal of enlightenment and supreme nirvana through the fulfillment of the vow of attaining nirvana without fail. Shakyamuni Tathagata appeared in this world solely to teach the ocean-like primal vow of Amida. So today I'm going to talk about these 6 lines because they're very, very important lines. And you might think, well, that's not getting too far, but this is a very important point that we have to understand. So in these 6 lines, Shinran is referencing, again, from the larger sutra, and this is going back to the 48 vows, okay? He's referencing here what we call the 17th, 18th, and 11th vow of the 48 vows, okay? So if you look at that, let me just pull that up. Sorry, I didn't have the 48 vows listed yet. Where's there it is. So if we look at these, the 11th vow says, if when I attain Buddhahood, humans and devas in my land should not dwell in the definitely assured state and unfailingly reach nirvana, then may I not attain perfect enlightenment. That's the 11th vow, okay? The 17th vow says, if when I attain Buddhahood, innumerable Buddhas in the lands of the 10 directions should not all praise and glorify my name, then may I not attain perfect enlightenment. So that's the 17th vow. And finally, the 18th vow, If when I attain Buddhahood, sentient beings in the lands of the 10 directions who sincerely and joyfully entrust themselves to me, desire to be born in my land, and call my name even 10 times, should not be born there, then may I not attain perfect enlightenment. Excluded, however, are those who commit the 5 gravest offenses and abuse the right dharma. Okay, so this is the 18th vow. So these lines that Shinan is talking about is referencing these 3 vows. Okay, now why this is so important? So in the 48 vows, we can break it down into several different categories. There are vows that talk about the Pure Land itself. Okay, well, the description of the Pure Land. There are vows that describe about how the Dharmakara becomes Amida Buddha. There are vows that describe the beings within the Pure Land. And then there are vows that are directly related to my becoming a Buddha, or my entering the Pure Land. And of those vows, these 3, the 17th, 18th, and 11th, are considered the most important, according to Shinran Shonin. Okay. So why is this so? Well, the first 2, the 17th and 18th vow, so when we look at the passage here, okay, the name embodying the primal vow is the act of true settlement. So the name embodying the primal vow, this is the 17th, another way of calling the 17th vow, okay? Because it's said in the 17th vow that all the Buddhas will praise the name of Amida. This is the right practice, if you will, of Pure Land Buddhism, is to receive and recite the name of the Buddha. Okay? The vow of entrusting with sincere mind is the cause of birth. So this is the 18th vow, the vow of entrusting with sincere mind. So in the 18th vow, of course, it says there, if when I attain Buddhahood, sentient beings in the lands of the 10 directions who sincerely and joyfully entrust themselves to me. Oh, maybe I should put this on the screen for you. Sorry. We have Judy here, and I forgot to put it on the screen for her. Should come on. Okay, so the 18th vow here talks about who the beings of the 10 directions who sincerely and joyfully entrust themselves to me, desire to be born in my land, okay, and call my name. So this is the vow of, this is the vow of entrusting with sincere mind. And Shinran calls this the cause of birth in the Pure Land. And then finally, the next couple of lines, we realize the equal of enlightenment and supreme nirvana through the fulfillment of the vow of attaining nirvana without fail. And this is referencing what we call the 11th vow, because the 11th vow states that all beings in the Pure Land are in what we call the definitely assured state, or an unfailingly reached nirvana. Okay, so when we look at those 3 lines, or these this passage, okay, it talks about the practice, the name, which was given through the 17th vow, because all the other Buddhas praise this Amida Buddha. But that praising comes about because of the entrusting heart that they receive when they awaken to the sincere mind of Amida Buddha. Okay, so the reason why the Buddhas in the 10 directions praise the name is because they receive the sincere mind of Amida Buddha, which causes the entrusting heart. And finally, Shinan says that this is a very unique understanding of Shinan Shonin himself, okay? Because he said that through the 17th and 18th vow, we receive the sincere mind of Amida Buddha, which leads us to the entrusting heart, or Shinjin, and expresses itself verbally as the Nembutsu, or the name of the Buddha. So when we receive the entrusting heart, out of gratitude, this the Namo Amida Butsu, or the name of the Buddha, comes out. Sort of an effect of receiving the mind of the Buddha. So it's very similar to when somebody is deeply moved by something, and tears just come out spontaneously. So it's sort of similar to that, is that when we really receive the working of the Buddha, then spontaneously this Nembutsu comes out, Namo Amida Butsu. And once you receive this entrusting heart, or Shinjin, Shinan Shonin said that we are actually in the ranks of what we call the truly settled, and are considered to be in the stage just before attaining enlightenment, or the 51st stage in the 52 stages to enlightenment. So in Buddhism, there's a breakdown of 52 stages that one needs to go through to attain enlightenment. Up to the 40th stage, it's a process of, you might slide backwards. But once you hit the 40th stage, the 40th stage is what we call the Bodhisattva stage. And there are 10 Bodhisattva stages. And so through those 10 stages, you don't go backwards. And then the 51st stage is what we call, so 41st to 50 is the Bodhisattva stage. And then the 51st is the stage of like enlightenment, or if you look at here, equal to enlightenment, it says. But in fact, when you look at the Japanese character, hisashi, hisashiku, it means almost there, but not quite. It's like this, but it's not exactly that. Okay, so it's almost enlightenment, but not exactly. So that's what we call the 51st stage. And also it's referred to sometimes as, where is it? Where did it? Oh yeah. The stage of attaining enlightenment after one lifetime. Okay. And sometimes it's also equated to Maitreya Bodhisattva, or Miroku Bosatsu, because Maitreya Bodhisattva is said to be the future Buddha. So in the Buddhist teachings, we talk about how the different eras that exist. Remember, I talked about the right Dharma age, the semblance Dharma age, and the declining Dharma age. And at the end of the declining Dharma age, you have the extinction of Dharma. Extinction of Dharma means extinction of Dharma of this Buddha, of Shakyamuni Buddha. But at that point, it said that the next Buddha comes out, and that's what we call Maitreya Bodhisattva. It's supposed to be the next coming of the Buddha. And so, according to Shinan Shonin, he says that when we reach, or when we receive Shinjin, we become in the ranks of the truly settled, and that's equivalent to being like Maitreya Bodhisattva, so that in one lifetime, the next lifetime, we are assured of attaining nirvana. And so this is what the 11th vow basically states. And so it's known as the vow of attainment of nirvana without fail. Okay, so these three become imperative in Shinran Shonin's teachings because he said it fulfills all the parameters and requirements of attaining enlightenment. So the first thing about attaining enlightenment is that there has to be a desire or a wish to attain enlightenment. So unless you're on a path searching for enlightenment, it really has no meaning. Okay, so the reason why you're all joining this evening's lectures is because you're interested in learning about the Pure Land teachings and Buddhism, right? If you didn't have that interest, you wouldn't be taking time out of your busy schedules to join us every week. And I'm grateful that you are. It makes it a lot easier for me when there are people joining, as opposed to speaking just to myself. But it means that's the first step, okay, is that you need to have this desire for enlightenment. And in Buddhism, we call that bodhicitta. Bodhicitta is the mind to awaken to bodhi. Okay, and that mind actually is according to this is according to Shinran Shonin. Okay, that bodhicitta, or the mind to want to become Buddha, is given to us, if you will, when we become aware of what we call Amida Buddha. And that's the sincere mind of Amida Buddha. So when we begin to feel the working of the infinite upon us, realizing my existence is not just by myself, that's when we begin to think there's something more that I want to strive for. And that's called bodhicitta, or the mind to awaken to bodhi. And that's received, according to Shinran, through the 18th vow. So the first step in any Buddhist school is to have this bodhicitta, the mind to want to become enlightened. Okay, so that's the first thing you need. Then you need a process in order to attain that enlightenment. And that's where the 17th vow comes in. So the 17th vow states that all these other Buddhas praise and say the name of Amida Buddha. And hence, for us as well, that is the practice through the recitation of the name of the Buddha. That is our practice in order to proceed, if you will, to enlightenment or the Pure Land. But finally, through that process, one has to attain nirvana or enlightenment. And that's where the 11th vow comes in, because according to that vow, it states that those who hear and receive Shinjin become in that assured state of being born after one life, after one lifetime. So that means when we pass away from this world, we enter into nirvana. Okay? So these three vows basically tell us what we receive in this world and what we receive going forth. So there are two different things here that have to be kept in mind. So in this world, we receive the entrusting heart, or another word that's used is the settled settled mind, anji. And so when we see that in this world, then everything that happens around us is taken into context. We begin to live or be able to appreciate each and every day, a single day. And then when our time comes at the end of this life, then we're assured instantaneously of entering nirvana, okay, or attaining enlightenment, becoming one with Amida Buddha. Now, this interpretation is very, very unique to Shinran Shonin, because up until Shinran Shonin, how it was interpreted was through the Nembutsu, so through the recitation of the name of the Buddha, one then gets, it's like receiving a ticket to get into the Pure Land. And then it's there that one cultivates further their practice and then attains enlightenment in the Pure Land. But Shinran sort of brought that one step forward, and he said, the moment we receive the sincere mind of Amida Buddha, or awaken to that sincere mind and entrust into it, at that instant, we are in that truly, the state of being assured of enlightenment. And so at the end of this life, automatically we enter enlightenment or nirvana. So this was something that was very, Shinran sort of revolutionized or read differently from the monks in the past. And that's what makes it very unique to Shinran Shonin. And this aspect of it, of entering into nirvana after one lifespan, is very important because in the other schools of Buddhism, there is no guarantee how many lifespans it will take you to attain enlightenment. So in other words, in the other schools of Buddhism, one practices and diligently tries to attain enlightenment in this life, but if they are unsuccessful in this life, it says that you are reborn again in the next life, then you continue your journey, if you will. So Shinran says that this path, this Pure Land path, is the most expedient because it's basically guaranteeing enlightenment at the end of this life. So while we have life on this earth, we receive the settled mind or the entrusting heart. And then when we pass away, we enter ultimate enlightenment. We become one with Amida Buddha. And so also according to Shinran Shonin, and this comes from the 22nd vow, unfortunately, if you think that once you enter the Pure Land or once you attain enlightenment, that you can take it easy, that's wrong. Because now you come back as compassion. So once you become Buddha, you're not thinking about yourself. You are working towards beings who are still in ignorance. So all of us, you start working towards, okay? So this is what, and this is why in these passages that we're going through tonight, at the end, the last two lines tonight, he says, Shakyamuni Tathagata appeared in this world solely to teach the ocean-like primal vow of Amida. So Shinran says, this is the reason, the ultimate reason why the historical Buddha entered into this world was to convey to us this path, okay? And next week, I'm actually going to stop here today With Shinran says that basically, well, maybe I'll go on a little more. I have to pull up a different one. Hang on. Sorry, let me just. Oh, yeah. So, oh no, what's this one more? Huh? Oh yeah, okay. So Shinran, after those passages where he says this was the sole reason why the Buddha entered into this world, he then goes on to say, we, an ocean of beings in an evil age of 5 defilements, should entrust ourselves to the Tathagata's words of truth. When the one thought moment of joy arises, nirvana is attained without severing blind passions. When ignorant and wise, even great, you know what? I'm going to go into this next week. But do you have any? Wait, let me unshare. Sorry. Did you understand that? What I was talking about? Yes or no? Give a little time to digest this one. They're very important items to understand in our take of Jodo Shinshu. Anybody have any comments or questions, or do you all understand where these things are coming from when I mentioned the larger sutra? Yes.
Sensei?
Yes.
One question that I was trying to remember when it's talking about sincere mind, there were 3 minds, and
Yes.
this became, they were sort of amalgamated into the one.
Right. So the sincere
remember
mind,
the 3.
yeah, sincere mind, the entrusting heart, and the desire to be born in the Pure Land.
Okay, thank
Those
you.
are the three minds, and Shinran looks at them all. Well, from the perspective of the sentient beings, from our perspective, it's all included in the entrusting heart. So for us to have an entrusting heart, we have to have we awaken to the sincere mind of Amida Buddha, and subsequently that also causes us the desire to want to be born into a pure land, or the desire for attaining enlightenment, or bodhicitta, if you will. So from Shinran, it says it all is from this perspective of the sentient beings, it's all to do with this entrusting heart. And that entrusting heart, he says, is the cause of our birth into the Pure Land, or the cause of enlightenment, if you will. So it's really a difficult concept, because the word faith comes up, and some Buddhist scholars do not like using the word faith because of the loaded implications from the Judeo-Christian society or background. However, I do believe there is an aspect of a salvific nature in the Buddhist teaching, and without faith, I don't know what other words you could, I mean, that's why they use the word entrusting heart. But that, entrusting heart is something that's very difficult. It's kind of wordy, you know. When it comes right down to it, faith is important, I think. And so some Jodo Shinshu scholars will say just keep the word shinjin and try to use that word and introduce it into the English lexicon, just like satori or nirvana are now parts of the English language. So there's all sorts of different ways of describing it. Some scholars have used shinjin faith to try to make people understand. But I believe it's a crux of understanding the teachings is, I mean, if you don't have a belief, then it really doesn't mean anything to you. Right. So, but having said that, Denyo Shoni was the eighth Lord Abbot of our school of Buddhism. He was a prolific teacher of the Dharma. And one of the things he says is that if you don't have Shinjin, don't worry about it. Just try to understand the teachings. Hey, your cat is doing gasho, Linda. That's amazing. Is that your cat?
No, that's not my cat. I just found him online, but I liked him so much. I took him and put him on my Facebook.
Yeah, that's great. Anyway, sorry, I got this sidetracked. But Daniel said, don't worry about it. He said, if you don't have it, just keep on listening and recite the name. And the idea is that if we were to purify ourselves before we can listen to the Dharma, we would never be able to listen to the Dharma. So don't wait, continue. I know, when I was going to school in Japan in my 20s, many years ago now, my teachers, when they taught, it was all like hieroglyphics to me as well. So you're not alone if you're feeling completely lost into all of this. But it's a slow process. It's a process of osmosis. And Denyo Shonin states that, water is soft, rocks are hard, but if the rock is exposed to water long enough, the water could create a hole in a rock. So similarly, our minds are very hard, but in being exposed to the Dharma over and over, slowly but surely, it begins to sink in. So, and part of it too is you need a teacher that explains. Sometimes I go off too many tangents, maybe, but hopefully you're getting something out of it. I'm assuming you're getting something because you are coming back. So
Thank you, Sensei.
thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Again, please feel free to contact me anytime during the week as well. And I won't say who's making questions or comments, but any questions or comments that you make, it is helpful. And I do bring it up and share it with others because I'm sure you're not the only one that has those questions. So. Okay. Well, Kathy, I can't hear you. I don't know why. We could see you, but we can't hear you. No, I don't know. Anybody else have any questions or comments? If not, thank you all for joining me, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank
That's
you.
it.
And
Thank
say-
you very much,
Thank you,
Sensei.
Sensei.
Thank you, Sensei.
Thank you.
Good night.
Comment.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
そういうところが分かっただけでもいいんじゃない。それから
そうよ。
それから